Should I start now?
Yes, Professor.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namo Namah. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Om Shri Ved Purushaya Namo Namah. Om Shri Vakya Devai Devyai Namo Namah. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namo Namah. Om Shri Angirasaya Namo Namah. Om Kaplaya Namo Namah. Om Gargaya Namo Namah. Om Shri Vedavyasaya Namo Namah. Om Shri Dharmaya Namo Namah. Om Samastamatra Satyai Namo Namah. Om Shri Radha Krishnabhyam Namo Namah. My dear listeners, welcome back to this session number 5 to this course. Please accept my humble pranam, and we will continue our Tirth Yatra through the ideas and wisdom of our rishis as it has come down to us. So I would appreciate if you can enlarge your consciousness and focus on to the subject matter for today's class. And please do ask questions. Please, comments and suggestions you can post also onto the classroom website. That will help me and also the audience to move forward and make this course even better. So I appreciate your help and support.
BK Watson.
Join the meeting.
A humble reminder to the audience that some of you may experience difficulty in complexity of the web of abstract ideas and concept in these lessons, which is stemmed from Vedic foundation. I believe that's full of wonder, beauty, and mystery. Please keep this in mind, that these abstract ideas and the worldview will be mapped onto the real ground for our engagements with personal life, professional life, family relations, human experience, and various knowledge-based systems, social engagements, national, international lokas, as well as those of entire natural world. So these will not remain abstract, but this is the foundation of the superstructure that is going to be built as we move along. One can have a very positively enriching, meaningful, and aesthetically satisfying experience that when one can see all the relationship within the society and world, it will be enlightening and transformating experience that is I hope for. Many new unifying ideas are being introduced and new articulation and narratives as the course progresses. This is the very famous quotation from the Will Durant, the great historian, from the story of civilization. And it has direct relevant meaning to our efforts of introducing such unifying course. India is the motherland of our race, and Sanskrit, the mother of Europe's languages. She was the mother of our philosophy, mother through the Arabs of much of our mathematics, mother through Buddha of ideals embodied in Christianity, mother through the village community of self-government and democracy. Mother India is, in many ways, the mother of us all. Democracy and self-government concepts and ideas and practice, they are not discovered from Magna Carta of the European tradition. They were existing during Mahabharata times and continue to follow. But we have ignored them, we have not brought them out in front in our education system, in our public and private lectures and discourses. So that is the most unfortunate part, that wisdom remains hidden, and then the others came into and imposed their worldview and the same wisdom in a new bottle, in a new format to us. To us means people of India. And this is my quotation, and the same India remained politically, socially, intellectually, and mentally slave. And the same India remained plunged into the deep darkness of Ajnana. And the same India lost glory of the motherhood. And the same India that is Bharat now is at the crossroad of civilization death or potentiality of renaissance for achieving even the greater glory. So we are at the crossroads. We can go either way. I have a ray of hope looking at the silver lining, but the empty slogans like India is going to be Jagat Guru in next few years, this is the empty slogan, meaningless unless we work on the upliftment of the people of India based on Vedic wisdom tradition. And that will also send the message to the entire world that, as it has been said by many of the great thinkers of the West, the India will be the ultimate refuge for the whole world civilizations. And many of the distinguished thinkers, writers, are looking forwards to the Indian wisdom. So we have to keep that in mind. So this course must be looked at a deep commitment toward the goal of Jnana Vigyan Renaissance of the Vedic civilization. That's the deep commitment, and that's the intention, bringing this course out with the wonderful, beautiful help from Rajiv Vermaji, and the support from Shruti Srinivasanji. Let's move forward. We have been talking about in lesson 4 what we call the interconnectivity with the atmospheric loka. Give you one example here. When a butterfly flutters its wing in one part of the world, it can eventually cause a hurricane in another. This is written by a very famous scientist working with the chaos theory. So as we hear, all the Vedic worldview interconnects the entire cosmos, providing different connections and relationships. So this is the statement that vindicates the idea given in our Vedic wisdom. The why there are two such pervading entities, Akshar, Brahman, and Lok. What is the relation between them? And that is the question I raised in the last session, session number 4. But unfortunately, no one raised that question during question answer session. So I could have defined and talked about it. What do I mean by that? I could have answered that question. So I am again raising the question, and I'm going to answer this question in this session. There are two concepts we have, very powerful framework we have introduced that are all pervading. One is Akshar Brahman. Akshar Brahman has two meanings hidden within the technical term Akshar. Aplakshara, non-decaying or non-mutability, everlasting, eternal. Aksh plus Ra, aesthetically pleasurable, Ramanam to the eyes, Aksha. Aksha means eye. Eternally blissful beauty of hidden divine personality of Brahman, as well as of his manifested natural sarira, which is the natural loka, the cosmos. And why these two such all-pervading entities? What is the interrelationship between them? Akshar Brahman you can consider to be an abstract ground that you cannot directly see or experience without going through the ultimate yogic experience. In normal conditions, in normal vision, normal understanding, Akshar Brahman remains hidden from us. The concept of the Lokasamgraha is the foundation which is also pervading. That gives us the visibility that through which we can learn and act, which we can participate in. So that's the manifested reality through which we all go through with wide variety of perspectives and ideas, wide variety of consequences from blissful participation in the natural world to the what you call this world is full of miseries, diseases, and dissatisfaction. So the entire spectrum becomes available to us through this Lokasamgraha, through the Loka, categorizing, classifying this entire cosmos through the Lokas. So this is the primary difference. Of course, I can keep on going, giving a separate lecture for the comparison and contrasting these two, all pervading the Vedic worldviews. What is the primary meaning of the Brahman? This question comes up in every talk that you hear, every literature you read, every YouTube dealing with the Vedic wisdom tradition, Vedanta or Veda. You will hear this term Brahman. So I want to clarify and add something more to only the idea Brahman or the technical term Brahman. Brahman has two primary meanings: to grow, to swell, to pervade all dimensions of the existence, and non-existence. And second is the causing to grow, to swell, to pervade. So there is an entity which is which uh, which grows, swells, and pervades, and this has a power of growing, swelling, and pervading. According to Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra or Badarayana, the term Akshar Brahman denotes a reality which is the primary cause of Jagat. He is the supreme being qualified with the divine attributes. Very, very important here to emphasize that he is the supreme being qualified with divine attributes. At this time, I will make the following quotation from Atharvaveda. Who am I? Unified am I, quite undivided, unified myself. Unified my breathing both in and out. Unified is my continuous breath. Unified, quite undivided am I, the whole of me. That is what we are, through the diversity, through the multiplicity, through the plurality of the entire world, human beings, other living beings, and the material world, how we contain within ourselves the whole of me. That whole concept is being recapitulated and reworked out, rearticulated through this course called Lokasamgraha Yogadharma Kshetra. Now, if you hear on the term Brahman, I think this may be misleading, confusing, and this may also be very incomplete. And many of a particular branch of Vedantic darshan will not mention to you all these manifestations of the Brahman. They are very selective, unfortunately, to emphasize their narrow viewpoint. I have identified these Brahman. This is not the complete list, but this is a good list to talk about. Sagun Brahman versus Nirugun Brahman, Gunatit Brahman, Abhyay Brahman, Akshar Brahman, Char Brahman, Murt Brahman, Amurt Brahman, Mart Brahman, Amritam Brahman, Sthit Brahman, Dynamic Brahman, Mahat Brahman, Abhyakt Brahman, Vyakt Brahman, Param Brahman, Sabd Brahman, Nad Brahman, and Madhur Ras Brahman, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And I have coined another term in the context of the radiation which pervades the entire universe, all forms of radiation, visible, non-visible, ultraviolet, infrared, X-rays, all gamma ray, all kinds of radiation, audio, video signal that you are getting through all the devices. I have given the umbrella term, unifying term called Bikiran Brahman. This is a new term you will not find. I have not found anywhere. You may not be able to find, but this is what radiation spectrum pervading millions of galaxies, including our own, also Suryadev, including all the audio video signals, all forms of communication waves. And my dear listeners, when you look at the Murta Brahma, Amurta Brahma. Murta Brahma is the manifested cosmos, you and I and each and every element. That's the Murta Brahma. That also is the Vyakta Brahma, manifested Brahma. And this Murta and manifested Brahma and Marta Brahma, it means the Mrityu. Bhagavan Krishna says, I am the death too. I am the birth. I am the sustenance. I am the death too. Marta Brahma, Amritam Brahma. So as you can see here, that the Murti Puja foundation is based upon the concept of the Murt Brahma, Vyakt Brahma, Chara Brahma. This is very important. And you have a Sabda Brahma. You have a Nada Brahma, the entire musical tradition, Nada Brahma, Sabda Brahma. And also Natya Shastra is a Natya Brahma. The entire cosmos is nothing but the Natya of the divine being, the Brahman. Natubara Bapu Karniyo Karnikaram, Natraj. Several terms are used when we define within this greater schemes later on practical terms. I will also going to talk about and interrelate, interconnect, which have been disconnected so far with the Sabda Brahman, Nada Brahman, Nat Brahman, all kinds of knowledge systems that are prevailing in contemporary world. This is the beauty of nature. This world has to Ramanam. Brahman itself, Ramanam, his manifested form as the natural world is beautiful. And Fyodor Dostoevsky, one of the greatest thinker and writer from the late 19th, early 20th century, Dostoevsky from Russian world said, beauty will save the world. If we can see the beauty in the world can be saved. But then who will save the beauty? That is Russian poet pronounced later on. And we collectively have to save the beauty. Lokasamgraha Yogadharma Kshetra, through this bold, powerful grounding, can only save the beauty. Now, I have been talking in the previous lecture so far on the Loka concept itself, which is pervading. Now I'm going to talk about the Lokasamgraha. This is the multidimensional term that is used in Bhagavad Gita in only two verses, 320 and 325, in relation to Niskam Karma Yoga. Not found in the 10 principal Upanishads. Loka is all pervading in every scripture, important scripture you find the Loka. Bhurvavasva tasya vituruvarediyam bhargo. You are familiar with, not found in Rig Veda. But Atharvaveda 11.5.6 does contain the term related to Lokasamgraha. Mahabharata Udyog Parvagyam 51-54, and probably in all the other Shastras, this term Lokasamgraha is contained. Primary meanings of this Lokasamgraha term are the properly structured and ordered engagement with the spirit of well-being of human beings, other living beings, and natural loka. These are the primary meaning. Properly structured, ordered engagement with the spirit of well-being human beings, other living beings, and nature loka. So it means well-being of the entire existence. With that, the spirit. How it has to be achieved? Through structured and orderly engagement. A structured, orderly engagement is the Yogadharma Kshetra. That's the Yogadharma Kshetra. I'm giving you proof here. What is the background of this Lokasamgraha? In chapter 3, Bhagavan talks about the Karma Yoga and Yoga of action. And Arjun asked the question, so I'm giving the background of these two, 320 and 325. Lokasamgraha Dharma. What is the background context? Jayasi chet karmaste mata buddhir janardane. Tam kim gho karmani ghore mam niyojasi Keshava. Oh Keshav, if you think that Buddhi Yoga, contemplative life, is a loftier course than the mere performance of X, Karma Yoga, then why do you command me to do a cruel deed? Between Gyan Yoga and Karma Yoga, this contradiction and apparent contradiction, I will call it, and conflict, the question has been raised by, beautiful question by Arjun. And the whole Vedic wisdom tradition is based on question and answers. Until unless my audience raises the beautiful, wonderful, deeper question, I cannot ponder upon the beauty and wonder and mystery hidden behind those questions. You are bewildering my understanding with these apparently confused propositions. Therefore, tell me unequivocally the one way by which I may gain the greater good. These are the apparent paradoxical positions. Jnana Yoga, which is also called Sankhya Yoga, versus Karma Yoga, or men of actions, yogins. And Krishna says, the man, however, who cannot be delighted in his Atman alone, who is pleased with the Atman and content only with the Atman, for him there is no work related to worldly engagements to be done. Who does not require work to be done, by my dear listeners, make sure the hidden meaning behind the karma here is the work related to worldly engagements. So those who are in Atma Jnana is situated in Brahma Sthiti. They do not have to do the karma yoga for the worldly engagements. However, since they have still the human sarira, the sarira will keep on working by itself within itself. So the karma will going, internal karma will be going on. That karma yoga will be going on. And all others have to be, those who are not in the Brahma Sthiti or Atmic mode, they have to be engaged in karma. But what kind of karma? All kinds of karma gives us attachment to the karma as well as the fruits of the karma. And as a result, we go to the rebirth phenomena, cycles of rebirth, sustenance, and death, and the living of miseries and diseases and dissatisfaction, emptiness. I have talked about these ideas in previous lectures. How can avoid that? At the same time, how can achieve the perfect state of my existence? So the beautiful, beautiful, most wonderful, unique statement here. Therefore, perform the action that has to be done in the worldly process, but continually free from attachment, asakta. And by performing actions without attachment, a man reaches the supreme. That is the idea, and this is called the Niskam Karma Yoga. Tada tasmad sakta satatam karyam karma samachare asakto yacharan karme parmapnoti purusaha. And all others have to be engaged in karma. Therefore, perform the action that has to be done, continually free from attachment, perform without attachment. Man reaches the supreme. Parmapnoti pursa. And Krishna, he gives the example. Do you have a good example of such a Niskam Karma Yogi? Yes, I do. The great King Janak, if a philosopher king of Vede. Karmandayi sansiddham asta janakadaya. Lokasamgraha mevapi. This is what we, for by karma alone, it was that Janak and other ascended to perfection. And you also must act. Or again, if you consider the welfare and coherence and order of the world, then you should work and act. This is the Lokasamgraha Yogadharma Kshetra. My dear listeners. So real role models rare in the contemporary world. Whatever the noblest person does, that too will others do. So the standard that he sets, all the world follow. So if you are situated in Lokasamgraha Yogadharma field, you can become a role model for others to follow. Very important. Not theory alone, but practice. What kind of practice? Niskam Karmyo, based on the theoretical construct of Lokasamgraha. You must act. Arjun, you must act. All people must act. Nowadays, my dear listeners, unfortunately, our role models have been discovered or identified in the Hollywood, Bollywood, sports field, entertainment field, and the corrupt politicians and many other fields of where they are populated by Agyani and people with this full of Bhrashtachar. They are the new models, role models. And you can see this world, which way is running, coming to the woke culture. I'm not going to talk about here at this time. Lokas, if the people do not work, if the human beings collectively do not work in this world, the worlds will be destroyed. If I, Krishna, myself did not perform action, I would be the creator of distorted life. And I would destroy these people. I will destroy the cosmos. As unlearned act from attachment to their karma, so should the learned should also with the same zeal, with the same devotion, dedication, but without attachment. And those who are working, those who are in action, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all kinds of actions, personal life, professional life, who are engaged in action, teach them how to transform your action with the viewpoint of Niskam Karma Yoga. Keep on doing what you're doing, but transform your thought process, your engagement, or how do you see your actions, the viewpoints, the wonder and beauty. Do not stop them, those who cannot achieve Niskam Karma Yoga. Do not tell them, do not stop them from working. Desiring to act so as to hold the world together in order and harmony and well-being, all the entities moving and non-moving. And my dear friend, this is the principle of Niskam Karma Yoga. Let me give you, when you ask question how I can be detached from the actions, world of actions and fruits of actions, how can I detach myself? If you ask this question, I'm going to elaborate it. Right now, I want to move on. The wise, let no wise man shake the minds of ignorant who are attached to action. Let them continue action, but teach them how can you transform your actions to Niskam Karma. So again, defining again primary meaning, properly structured order engagement with the spirit of well-beings of the entire cosmos. And there are three fields of engagement within this Lokasamgraha Dharma: preservation of this order and structure, innovation and growth, continuity with the change within this order and engagement, and security of this order and engagement under changing time, circumstances, and values. These practical matters of acting in world are not frozen, cannot be frozen in stone, which are in ancient wisdom, which is called the world of actions. We have to do innovation. We have to make changes. We have to bring in new ideas, new concepts, and new ways of acting, but within the purview, within the principles of the foundation of the Lokasamgraha. This is important. Change cannot be arbitrary. Change cannot be imposed because of the changing circumstances and values, from order engagement to disorder, from structured to unstructured, from yoga to kuyoga, from dharma to adharma. That change is not the, it is adverse, will have an adverse impact on the existence itself. The best strategy for real action is a niskam karma yoga through manasa vacha karmana. Question and answers. How can I'm reading these questions. How can an individual connect to and relate to the world and cosmos? Answer. It should first start by delineating the interior structure and field of human personality. Then only we can know what kind of connections and relationship can be established. How can one realize such a connectivity, interrelationship? Answer is to start by defining this connectivity in terms of yoga. And how can I hold this connectivity or interrelationship? This Lokasamgraha, niskam karma yoga, how can I hold on to, how can I dharana sabd, dhriti dharana, how can I uphold, how can I embody that, continuously embody that through the concept of Yogadharma Kshetra. So then I have to add dharma and kshetra. Dharma and kshetra will be the answer to the question, how can I keep upholding, how can I embody those principles of niskam karma yoga, Lokasamgraha karma yoga. Let's look at the representation, pure representation, not exhaustive by me. For exhaustive representation of a human being and surrounding, I have to give in another what you call the course, which in the planning stage. Note, cellular birth, growth, differentiation, and maturity process do contain the certainty of death at their inception. The death comes with the life. As soon as conception takes place, the cells start dividing. Cell still contains the seed of death. And which is also, now this is the very, if you go back and look at Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, birth and death sahayonija. They are together. They are born together. They live together. They go together. They sustain together. And this concept of cellular death, I don't have time to talk here today. Cellular death is a wonderful phenomena. and that vindicates, that supports the old, very old wisdom. The real situation is here, which is schematically defined as human body, its own internal world or loka, surrounding social and natural world loka, and mutual interaction exchanges between these two lokas. So now I'm trying to focus on individual and society and the other natural world through this diagram, which will be very helpful. How do I interact with the world once I define my loka? Let's look at the enlarged view, essential levels: individual loka, family loka, group loka, society loka, national loka, international loka, bhurvavasvaha loka, and beyond. This new representation takes birth from the Sankhya Kshetra. This is the new representation I am giving to you based on my contemplation deeply enough that I think this is the way this graph, this view graph, this configuration gives us a clue how to define the lokas within the boundary and how do I interact across the boundary. Each loka will have its own dharmas, beauty and wonder. And how can I hold on to my dharma, swadharma, and interact with other dharma? And this configuration will help me to delineate and explain and comprehend this whole field of yoga dharma. Concluding thoughts. A relevant picture as proposed of an individual human being as it relates to the outer world is represented through loka architract, which can then be used effectively to delineate the interconnectivity, interrelationship between the different levels. Please note a preview of future lectures. The forthcoming lectures are dedicated to defining, characterizing the meanings of Yogadharma Kshetra. And that should complete the foundational ground for this topic. Future courses are being planned to build the superstructure on this foundation. So for some of you, this foundational structure appears to be more abstract, complicated, complex. Yes, my dear listener, it is. If you want to understand the contemporary, the physical world, the material world, you have to go to the level of elementary particle and quantum world of quantum physics, mechanics, and quantum entanglement. This is where to go in quantum fields. You have to go at that level before you can answer all questions of the manifestation. Similarly, all questions of humanity and our interrelationship from the world has to be founded on the abstract, wonderful, beautiful, mysterious models and ideas, and through which these seeds will then sprout out to become vriksha, or the tree, and that we are going to deal with some of these things as we go along in future courses. But next time we are going to put a yogic integration of Lokasamgraha Yogadharma Kshetra. So please let us recite this mantra together. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejastu Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvasavahai. Om Santi, Santi, Santi. Hari Om. My most sincere thanks to all the participants. Next lecture will be August 12, Saturday, 2023 at 8 a.m. Pacific time, the same time as for today, and it will have the same password, Zoom password, and same ID of Zoom. So please join in on Saturday, August 12. With due respect to all of you and future listeners and future participants and future seekers of truth and wonder, I will request the audience to have some question answer for 15 minutes before we bind up this session. And by the way, I think if Rajiv ji is here and Shruti ji is here, they will tell you more about the information on the Classroom, Google Classroom website. Please keep posting your questions, comments, suggestions. All the lectures are being posted there. You can relook at those over and over and ask comments and questions. Also, I will request with my folded hand that if you want to work on any of the topics that we have been talking about more deeply, then I will welcome all of you and any one of you that we can work together, and towards the end, we can have your presenting once the term paper is ready in this session or in next lecture series. So please keep in mind, this is my humble request to all of you, that keep helping yourself by helping me, and that way we can experience and realize the beauty and wonder and mystery of our existence. Thank you so much. I think there are questions, and the Shruti ji or Rajiv ji will coordinate those questions.
Yes. Yes, Professor, thank you for your lecture. So there's a Google Classroom that we have. I will post the link in the chat. People who want to join can join through the link. And if you have any questions, then the floor is open.
नमस्कार
नमस्कार नमस्कार नमस्कार
नमस्कार मैं देवी प्रसाद मिश्रा बोल रहा हूँ।
हाँ हाँ, बहुत बहुत नमस्कार।
एक्चुअली जो आप जो बताए लोक संग्रह, उसके लिए निष्काम कर्म करना बहुत जरूरी है ना?
यस।
लेकिन निष्काम कर्म साधारण लोगों के लिए बहुत कठिन काम है।
यस।
दुरह व्यापार है।
यस, आई फुली एग्री विद यू।
तो कैसे किया जाए?
बहुत अद्भुत प्रश्न है। दिस इज वंडरफुल प्रश्न, क्वेश्चन, कैसे किया जाए? Well, let me give you some examples to illustrate the point. How can one have attachment, detachment simultaneously? This is what you have to do. Now, every one of us must look back our own life, journey of life. The toys that we used to like so much, attached to so much while we were growing up as a child, no longer are attractive to us. We were totally detached from there. Now we got attached to different kind of toys, like today's computer or the social media or phones, or the new toys have come, electronic gadgets have come, advanced transportation means are come. So now we have left behind, we get detached from those, now we are attached to new aspect. As we grow, actually that process goes on. I will give you my example. I was so much attached to the loving affair with my own kids and with my own wife. Will that attachment is the same attachment? remain now? No, not at all. We have transcended that attachment to move towards the field of detachment. I no longer enjoy the same, with the same vigor and the same excitement. बहारो फूल बरसाओ मेरा महबूब आया है. फूल बरसना बंद हो गए, अब प्रेम की वर्षा अंतर्मुखी हो गई. हम धीरे धीरे डिटैच होते जा रहे. So you can look at your own life's journey. You'll find out you were attached and you were attached to some action, some idea, and you got detached to the same and picked up another field of attachment, and this will also become detached. So it's called the Abhyas Yoga. The concept is Abhyas Yogadharma. Let me give you a good analogy from the Nat Shastra, which manifest in a crude way or with a limited way in the field of cinema. Suppose I want to be a good actor in a particular film. What I have to do? I have to fully attach to the role that I'm going to play. I have to fully attach. It means I have to embody that role. Otherwise, I will not be able to play role the very best one can play. That not I have to play by fully attaching myself. Once I have played the role, I have to pick up another role in another film. I have to totally detach from the role that I played. And those outstanding artists in this world, they have the similar experiences. They detach from the old role and then get attached to new role and then keep on moving attachment to detachment. If I want to perform action the very best way, if I want to realize the relationship very best way, if I want to go to deeper aspect of the any idea, any relationship, any karma, any jnana, any bhakti, I have to get attached to it. It means embodiment, I have to do it. It must flow in my blood. It must flow in my veins. It must flow in my heart. But simultaneously, I have to keep in back of my mind, yes, I have to get detached from all this attachment. And then once you come through this practice, just like, you are professor, you have been professor, you are still professor, you get detached to the material that you're presenting the class, and then you get attached to a different material. Otherwise, you do not have comprehended completely the material that you are covering, then you will not be able to explain and understand the beauty and wonder and comprehend completely. So attachment, this is my own contemplative experience, which is scattered in various locations within the Vedic wisdom. I'm bringing together attachment and detachment must go simultaneously. When you get attached, make sure in the back of your mind, everyone back of mind, no, I have to, I'm playing the role, I'm actor. I have to pick up another acting after I'm done with this acting. This state of mind or antahakaran will give you, this is called the Abhyas Yogadharma, will give you a natural exit from all kinds of attachment, not only the karma, but also fruits of those actions. This is in brief. I gave you analogy, and I have several analogy from the living world, and we can cite those, but this is, I think, a good analogy that you can ponder upon. Thank you so much. Any other question?
No, just can I little bit further clarification?
Okay.
Can I do? Okay. See, what I have understood, because that basically you'll have to go with the flow of the nature, because nature does the same thing, whether you like or dislike it. Nature does the same thing, because she will be putting in various places. You will have to detach. For example, I was in IIT Kanpur. Now I am here, right? In Kolkata. So therefore, nature will force you to do. That means if you go with the flow of the nature, then it will be good. That is the thing. What I will assume.
There is a very, very important distinction here, because I have to bring in another concept, which I have talked about, in this course. You must be engaged in such a way that you have order. You are engaged in the order and structures and dharmic order, dharmic structure. And many times you cannot do purely. You have to have, because dharma go together. But if you keep in mind one thing, that no matter what I am doing, always there is a trace of adharma involved in. But anyway, I had to detach myself at one point from this field of activity, which contains its own dharma and adharma. I had to pick up another activity which contains its own dharma as well as traces of adharma. This is very important. Now, suppose I give you extreme example. Well, look at the dacoits, or the many people engaged in criminal activities. If you look back, I have looked at the criminal minds also. So I'm giving you with some experience based on what I have looked at. Criminal minds, most of the time, do not think they are doing criminal activity. They got trapped in, and they cannot see the light. If they could have seen this to begin with and say, no, this is a criminal activity, they will try to get out of it. So there are many traps in the field of adharma. There are many traps that you have to avoid. That's why you need jnana. That's why you need dharma. That's why you need Lokasamgraha Yogadharma. As soon as these many of the criminals come out of the criminal activity, once they realize they were in deep darkness of ajnana adharma. So that's why the teachings must go on. You are teaching a professor in aerospace, so you must keep teaching the right way of designing, analyzing the aerospace structure. Even in those right way may change later on, may turn out to be not correct, but you have no other choice, only attachment, detachment simultaneously, aiming at the Niskam Karma Yoga. Thank you so much. Shruti ji, there is any other question?
Any other questions?
Yes, my name is B.K. Vasan, Chaturvedi.
Namaskar, Vasan ji, namaskar.
When you discuss the Brahmans, many Brahmans, Vikirana Brahma, you said the new term that you gave us. I remember one Brahma, Parabrahma in Vishnu Sahasranama. He says, Anandam Parabrahmeti Yonihi. What does that mean? Can you explain it, sir?
Yeah, actually, this is this directly comes from Sarv Khalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sab kuch Brahma hi hai. What Brahma is then identified later on in other scriptures, including the Upanishads. Because if everything is Brahman, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahman, Neti says This is not Brahma, this is not Brahma, this is not the Brahma, this is not the Brahma. All manifested world in our relationship are not the Brahma. Neti, neti, and there are two concepts to go together. Neti, neti, and eti, eti. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. And whatever manifested world, cosmos is, that is not the Brahma. Then what is that? This paradox has to be resolved through bringing in an adjective to the Brahman which is hidden behind it. Akshar Brahman. When we say this is not Brahman, this is not the Brahman, this is not the Brahman, we are reaching to a state called the Akshar Brahman, which is still in unmanifested state. That's what the unmanifested state. That's why Marta Brahman, Amritam Brahman. So this is why always new language had to come in. Simply, for example, one form of Adhyat Vedanti says, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. It can be very misleading. It has been very misleading term. Jagat Mithya is very misleading term. Jagat is Naswar. Mithya term actually misused here in this particular saying, this particular Subhasitam. Because this has had a long and brutal consequences for the Vedic wisdom tradition, practical wisdom. We ignored out of this idea which became so much embedded, entrapped in ourselves. We simply ignored for hundreds of years, unflowering, unfolding the what you call the natural world. All the ideas that you talk about, science, technology, the industrial revolution should have come in India. I have given talk about the Agnideva, Sarupa of Agnideva. We never did it. Why? I asked the questions to many Vedic priests, why we could not do it? And I have the answer, which will be given if somebody asks the question. So what happened really unfolding or expanding, which is the very foundation of the Vedic wisdom. Veda were expanded and extended other scriptures to go along, to further and further define and unfold. For example, Narayan Katha. Why it became Satya Narayan Katha? Why Satya was added? It was not necessary because Satyam is hidden within the idea of Narayan, the personality of Narayan. Satya Vratam, Satya Param Tri Satyam, Satya Sioni, Nihitam Cha Satya, Satyam Satyas, Satyas Satyam, Rita Satya Nitam, Satyatmakam Tuam Sarnam Prapati. 9 times Satya and foundation of Satya, Rita, foundation of Rit. All these terms have been used by in a prayer in Srimad Bhagavatam when the Krishna has appeared in the jail of Kansa. 9 terms Satya. So Narayan became Satya. You have to include the Satya before it can make sense with the changing time conditions. That's why Brahma, when you say Brahma, I do not know what Brahma you are talking about. If I have some knowledge, I will ask the question, which Brahma you are talking about? So this is how I mean briefly I will define which Brahma, and this is how the language has been developing and developed. This is really, I can give you hundreds of examples, which when I don't have today time, actually the time does not allow me to go to the Gyan Vigyan of the Sanskrit language itself, Sanskrit Bhasa. How this is really, this is really so wonderful, so beautiful a question. And all of you have been so kind enough to raise such questions so I can explore myself in presence of you, the deeper aspect of reality. So at least I will want to give you final impression to all of you Jagan is not mithya. Jagan is nashwar, is anitya. It does not exist all the time. So this is what the mithya means. In English terms, almost everyone has translated illusionary. You say illusionary. No. Asatyam cha pratistham cha jagadahurnishwara. One Krishna says, those who think that this world, asatyam, mithya, apratishtham, unfounded, without Ishvara, jagadahurnishwara, without Ishvara, they are in the mode of asuri vritti. So at least I would suggest you, and I have some parallels running, the paradoxes running from the world of the contemporary emerging physics, where the two questions are raised simultaneously, two ideas running parallel. One says if world is not illusion, world is real. My way of seeing the world can be illusionary. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Shivji, I have a question. Actually, I have just series of 3 questions. I don't know whether we have enough time today or not.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay, so the number one question is for Lokasamgraha Yogadharma Kshetra. It's just like, as I understand from your lectures, it's just like any other sadhana. So every sadhana requires a guru.
Yes.
So for Samanya Dharma or Samanya Lokasamgraha Yogadharma, for instance, the duty of a police constable on the street, or or a teacher in the classroom, or a sportsman, or a janitor cleaning up the floor. Is in those situations, should there be a guru? And if there needs to be a guru for Samanya Dharma, could the Karm Kandi, Purohit could fit that role?
Perfect. This is a great question, and I will answer the question like this. Yes, we need Sadguru, not Guru, because the Guru has become Guru Ghantal nowadays, majority of them. We need Sadguru at the level of Lok Vyavhar to guide us, to teach us, and to help us to realize and experience the basic ideas and the wonderful, beautiful celebration of life of Lokasamgraha Yogadharma. Let me further answer this question to you, which will be taken up, because this session, this particular summer session will not be enough, so I may be taking up other, in the autumn course or the winter course as well. All the sanskars which have not been updated, some of these have to be, they need drastically to be updated. Sanskar, all kinds of worship, pujas, murti puja, all kinds of pursat, all kinds of ashram vyavastha. This was designed, seeing, for example, going going to Mahakumbh, or taking dip into the Mother Ganga or Yamuna or Saraswati or Kaveri. How do we see that? How do we go and make a dip? That dip action is there, is still in somehow in polluted form. But what is the manasa vacha karmana? Man or bani mein what is going on when I take certain action? When I am a policeman and doing my duty, I must have a cognitive understanding what the duty is, what I am supposed to be doing, what I'm not supposed to be doing. So dharma, dharma must run into their cognitive faculty. So this is what you said. Yes, we need Sadguru in Laukik Vyavhar, in all these fields. And the Sadguru must have also proper training, proper educational system, just like you do education for each and every subject, must have a background. This has to be taught, and the courses have to be developed, which have not been developed so far. There are a lot of scattered, dharma, ideas and stories, very important stories. They in our Vedic scriptures, but they have to be brought in under modern context. That's why you say continuity with change. Continuity with change. Does that partially answer your question?
Yeah, it does actually answers much more, but there is a very important companion question that needs to be answered. So once the Samanya Dharma or the Samanya Lokasamgraha Yogadharma needs a guru.
Yeah.
So what should be the mechanism for selection of the guru? And this question is very important because personally I have experienced this this challenge that when I speak to like many people, I have been told, or the conversation goes something like this, which I have experienced personally with almost dozen times or even more. So somebody is a follower of some sampradaya where the guru says that Jesus Christ is a Punyatma who came to India and learned dharma and went to the Holy Land. So I disregard that. But then I was told that, and of course I'm not going to name any of these because they are like big gurus with millions of followers.
Yeah.
But I was told that these are your gurus, accept them, don't question it. But I have a problem with gurus who equate, Jesus and Muhammad. In some cases, I was told that Allah and Brahman are the one and the same, and it is just a mere expression. So my knowledge of Islam and Christianity is a little bit more, maybe to an extent of being dangerous. But what I have studied these two and Judaic traditions, that these, and in your lectures also, you are saying something similar. If a guru comes and if I'm told that I'm supposed to follow this guru because he's a guru, obviously I will not based on my own knowledge. But then what should be the mechanism of filtering out, let us say, for a lack of better term, a bad guru from a good guru? And what should be the criteria for selection or finding a guru specifically for Lokasamgraha Yogadharma Kshetra?
Wonderful, your experience. I have many of us have similar kind of experience. When blindly people compare, for example, God, Jesus is God and Krishna is God, Christ and Krishna, they compare, they are in deep, dark ignorance. I have on your platform Abrahamic tradition foundational idea. Because you ask them, okay, tell me, how do you define God? And then I will tell you how to define Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagwan. There is no equivalent term. The worldviews are fundamentally different. And they are simply these statements are simply misleading. We can, under the preview of, under the Vedic worldview, even if you ask the question, how do you see the Hitler? Hitler I see in the domain of asuras. That's what I see. But Vedic wisdom tradition in Lokasamgraha Yogadharma, as I discussed, there is always will be gurus, which I don't call Sadguru. That's why Sad has to be added, Sadguru. And two things have happened, Rajivji, before I can answer the other question, what is the mechanism? Two things have happened for last 2000 years in our Sanatana Dharmic tradition. In Sampradaya. Sampradaya has done one thing, Sampradaya has done in brief, a great job of holding up some of the basic principles and practices of the Sanatana Dharma. At the same time, this parampara tradition and guru tradition also traps people and traps the whole system, traps the whole Vedic wisdom tradition. It does not allow to unfold in changing times. So it means that whole tradition is frozen in time. As a result, we have not unfolded into the Lokik Vyavhar, changing times and conditions. And I say this time, I will say there are three layers, if I can identify those. One is the foundational layers of doctrines, which we are talking about. Second layer is the superstructure based on this one. Okay, which include the social domain, Lok Vyavhar, how to act, what to act, new ideas come in, how to act, how to consider those ideas. That has to keep changing, superstructure should keep changing with time, but that change must conform to the foundational principles of Vedic worldview. In between, there is a third layer transition period. That this change under different conditions, social conditions, political conditions, intellectual conditions, this change really is not abrupt. It's a slow change. And I, in some other talk, I think going to be too much for you. I will later on, if some question is asked, I will later on see what these three layers are. So transition is very important as well. So three layers. Under contemporary, to make this explanation little brief. So what has to be done contemporarily? One has to be completely education, 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 training of individuals who are not trapped. I'm talking about trapped, who are not trapped in the traditional Sampradaya Parampara or traditional, the table type lectures or talk or YouTube or no. We had to do the educational process. We had to develop the courses. We had to develop institutions. We had to develop small pockets and pockets, and we had to bring in people which are not trapped. They may be associated with all these Sampradaya temples and all that, but they are not trapped and they are not encased. In all aspects, theory, experience. For example, Go Pujan. Why do I, worship Go Mata? Why I call Go Mata? Simply saying, okay, I worship because, this is my norm, this is my tradition. I don't know what you're talking about. You have to explain in the modern context to modern people. You have to understand, you have to explain Why do you Gomata is so important, so unique in your tradition? And then, fine, that's not the end of it. Then once we say Mata, Go is not Pasu now. Go is the Mata. Then I had to do what he called the practical rituals together to honor this Mata, and that will honor all the Mata Shakti. This link has to be established through theory and through practice. So I think we need really, this multi-pronged approach. We have to have educational components where you have theory, practice, how this relates to the original foundational structure, and middle level. If we keep talking about the same middle level transitional period for Smriti and all that, not everything is relevant in contemporary situation.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that answer. And today I'm beginning to develop a capability and faculty to say no to bad blood in the Gurudom, so to speak. How to reject the entrapment. How to reject that entrapment.
Entrapment, how to reject that entrapment. And I tell you, you have used the correct term, entrapment, how to reject that entrapment. You don't reject your guru, you reject the entrapment.
Entrapment, right. Yeah, that was the term I have been looking for.
Yes,
so thank you for giving me that today.
Yes, entrapment is the real problem. And I tell you, what is this is very, very wonderful. I give you some hint, because that's a separate topic. I will be, I may talk with you if you give me the opportunity, and we'll continue working on it together. The concept of yagna. If you look at all the dimensions of yagna, you will find out when we do ahuti.
Mm-hmm.
When we do ahuti, we are doing ahuti of structural forms and ideas and everything, those values, to bring out new values, new ideas as a prasadam from Agni Deva.
Agni Deva, right.
So if you do not bring out after the havan, तुमने हवन कर लिया और अपना जो है प्रसाद ले लिया, चले गए, हवन का जब तक, इसलिए भगवान गीता में हवन की जो यज्ञ की बात कही, 9-10 तरह की यज्ञ की बात कही गई. हम एक ही हवन पे टिक के रह गए, हम और 10 हवनों को हमने आगे नहीं बढ़ाया, उसको अनफोल्ड नहीं किया, उसके वृक्ष नहीं बनाई बीजों के, which is needed. तो ये जो है, this concept goes back to yagna, the very first, most powerful idea and technology that was what you call replayed out seasonally every time to reconnect to the original worldview, to original wisdom. I call Rita Satyanetram. Why we have used two words, Ritam and Satyam? Oh my goodness, this is really wonder. I can find those Ritam Satyam in everyday life. In the whole scientific world, I can point out this is the Ritam, this is Satyam. But it has not been elaborated. It has not been really talked about. Simply only thing we talked about every time in the moksha dharma. I don't know, what really, you talking about moksha dharma. That's the moksha dharma is definitely a one of the ultimate purusharths. But how do you really, without going through the process of the world? इसलिए कृष्ण अर्जुन से पूछा है, अर्जुन ने कि भाई आप जब बताइए ये हम अर्जुन तो he could have gone to forest, relinquish the whole world, संन्यास ले लिए होती. उन्होंने कहा नहीं, लोक संग्रह धर्म, to have the existence in order and structure, in harmony, you have to do lok sangrah dharma. You cannot simply get out of it. परलोक के लिए बहुत से you see बहुत से गुरु परलोक की चिंता उन्हें बहुत ज्यादा है। परलोक की बहुत चिंता, परलोक की चिंता हमें भी है, लेकिन परलोक हमें तब तक जो है संभव नहीं होगा जो इस लोक में जब तक हम लोक संग्रह योग धर्म से नहीं जाते। जितनी तरह की साधना है, दो तरह की ब्रॉडली स्पीकिंग साधना है, एक इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर और एक लोक लेवल पर। यू आर फ्री टू डू ईदर वन, लेकिन फॉर मेजॉरिटी ऑफ इनफैक्ट इन गीता भगवान से हु इज द हाईएस्ट योगी? सर्वभूत हिते रता, सर्वभूत हिते रता। Yani those who have reached the highest state of Brahman, still they have to, the very best will be, among those, the highest level will be those who engaged in Lokasamgraha Dharma for all the existence.
That's wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will see you all. Please keep looking at the in the website, the classroom website. Keep posting your comments, suggestion, question, so I can answer those questions on the website as well, so that it goes to everyone at the same, whosoever wants to look at. Thank you. And make sure we all must, since you are a wonderful audience, we must avoid these sayings of the fake gurus. Even if somebody says, don't kill, just like one of the statement in the 10 Commandments, I really do not know what you're talking about. I will talk about this in the next lecture, whether the killing is a dharma or adharma, or dharma both, or neither dharma nor adharma. All these things will be talked about in future. So I will reject all sub-analogies and comparisons from other traditions, because they have a different worldview, linear one worldview. There's no karma siddhant. There is no rebirth phenomena. There is no sat asat. There is no dharma dharma. They cannot even figure it out, the Abrahamic tradition, where does the evil comes from? They cannot figure. They're trapped. They cannot figure it out. It is the most fundamental dilemma, not a dilemma, paradox, contradiction in the Abrahamic tradition. They cannot figure it out. Bible does not figure it out. No other interpretations have been figured. This is one of the things that people from Christian tradition, theologians, did not know how to answer that question. Once you say God is good, and God produced this entire universe in one stroke, and he looked at it and said, oh, it's good, then where the bad comes from? Oh my goodness. So this is where, so we will not, we should be avoiding these fake ideas, fake understanding, and stick on to the Vedic worldview. And I'm trying to recapitulate with some of those wonders and beauty and mystery through our collective experiences of the modern world and modern living. And my being, like many of you, are trained in the modern sciences, and we can talk about then Jnana Vigyan versus modern sciences, how they are interrelated, why did we not do what we could have done, and what can be done now, since the even Western scientific minds, some of the greatest minds contemporarily looking at the Sanskrit language and ancient Vedic wisdom tradition to recover, rearticulate a new battle, new ideas, new language, the same ideas, because we don't want to do it. Thank you so much. I appreciate. So this is the whole purpose for whole humanity, for whole cosmos. It's not compartmentalized, your God versus my God. Brahman is a different concept altogether. Your God and my God, this kind of a talk without qualifications is meaningless. It has no meaning. God term, we should not use the God. There's a closest term come out to be in two different traditions, Abrahamic tradition, our tradition, is the Ishvara concept. Ishvara is Lord. That's the closest you can come. There's no equivalent in God of in our term. Only Lord Ishvara. And Ishvara has a very important connotation. Very different sandarbha, context under which the Brahman, what you call the Abhyakta and the Abhya Brahman or Akshar Brahman can be understood, can be comprehended, can be realized under that context called the Ishvara. So the three terms which we use quite often, these terms, Paramatma, Brahman, Brahma के स्वरूप हमने बताया आपको, Paramatma, Purushottam, Bhagwan. They have a very, very distinctive yet interrelated foundational meaning and purpose behind it. Just leaving here to all of you, we will continue our Tirth Yatra. Again, bow down to everyone. And Rajesh ji, I took so much of your time and everyone else's time. I hope I can ask for the forgiveness. You are so wonderful, beautiful. You are so wonderful, beautiful.
Thank you, Professor.
थैंक यू सो
much.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इतनी अच्छी तरह से समझाने के लिए थैंक यू